Welcome to the Sleepy Stoic. Tonight we're looking at a quiet kind of torment, the guilt that comes from mentally comparing your current partner to your ex, even when you don't want to, even when the person beside you deserves better. You're lying next to someone who treats you well. The conversation is warm, the touch is gentle, and yet, without warning, your mind pulls up a memory of your ex. The way they laughed at a certain joke, the way their hand felt different in yours, the way a particular moment unfolded between you that felt, for reasons you can't quite name, more real than this one. The comparison arrives uninvited, and with it comes a wave of shame. You feel like an imposter in your own relationship. You're physically present, but emotionally elsewhere, and the person beside you has no idea. The guilt doesn't just come from the comparison itself. It comes from the sense that you're doing something wrong by having these thoughts at all. That if you were truly invested, truly over your ex, your mind wouldn't wander this way. So you try to suppress the thoughts, which only makes them return with more force. You try to focus harder on the present, which turns every intimate moment into an exercise in mental policing. The relationship that should feel easy now feels like work, and the distance between you and your partner widens, not because they've done anything wrong, but because you're spending so much energy managing what's happening inside your own head. Epictetus taught his students to distinguish between two things: the impression that strikes the mind and the assent we give to it. The Greek word is phantasia, a mental impression, an appearance, something that shows up in consciousness without being summoned. You cannot control which phantasia arise, a memory of your ex, a comparison, a flash of longing. These are not choices. They are events in the mind, no different than a sound you hear from the street or a cloud passing overhead. What you can control is whether you treat that impression as true, whether you grant it authority, whether you let it dictate how you see the person in front of you right now. The comparison itself is not the problem. The problem is mistaking the comparison for a judgment about reality. When your mind says, "This doesn't feel the way it felt with my ex," it's presenting an impression. That impression only becomes suffering when you add to it. And therefore, this relationship is less. And therefore, I'm in the wrong place. And therefore, I'm betraying the person I'm with by even having this thought. Epictetus would say, the first thought is not up to you. The second thought is, your ex is not an ideal. Your ex is a person who, for whatever reason, is no longer in your life. But memory has a way of distilling the past into highlight reels, editing out the friction, the disappointments, the reasons it ended. What you're comparing your current partner to is not a real person. It's a phantom. A story your mind constructed from fragments, polished by distance and longing. And you cannot build a life with a phantom. You can only lose the life in front of you by continuing to measure it against something that no longer exists. Here's a practice. The next time the comparison arises, and it will, don't fight it. Notice it. Let the impression appear. Then, without judgment, name 3 specific real qualities of the person you're with. Not abstract qualities, not things you think you should appreciate, real things. The way they listen when you're anxious, the particular shape of their kindness, the way they show up again and again in small ways that don't announce themselves. You're not trying to erase the comparison. You're practicing assent to what is actually present. You're training your attention to return to the person in the room, not the memory in your head. The guilt you feel is a secondary suffering. It's pain about pain. Epictetus would remind you that the impression is not in your control, but your relationship to the impression is. You are not betraying anyone by having intrusive thoughts. You are only betraying yourself when you let those thoughts convince you that the present is insufficient, that the person beside you is less than they are, that you are somewhere you don't belong. There's an old metaphor about phantom limbs. When a limb is amputated, the brain still sends signals to it, still expects it to be there. The pain is real, but the limb is gone. Your ex is gone, but your mind hasn't fully registered the loss. It still reaches for what is no longer there. This is not a moral failure. It is a lag in adaptation, and adaptation takes time. What you're learning is this: presence is not the absence of intrusive thoughts. Presence is the choice to return your attention again and again to what is real and in front of you. The person beside you is not a replacement. They are not a stand-in for someone else. They are themselves, entire and particular, deserving of your full attention, not the attention left over after you've finished negotiating with ghosts. The comparisons will fade, not because you've fought them into submission, but because you've stopped feeding them with assent. You've stopped treating them as verdicts. And in the space that opens, you may find something you didn't expect, not the relief of forgetting, but the quiet recognition that what you have now is enough. Not because it matches the past, but because it is real and present and yours.